I hadn't spoken to my mom in months after she told me I'd ruined her life by not giving her money for her vacation. I finally drove over to make peace, only to find my childhood bedroom rented out to a stranger. "You're not my daughter anymore," she said through the screen door. "Daughters don't say no to their mothers." I stood there, bags in hand. What I discovered in the mailbox that day made my blood run cold. Not because we fought all the time or anything. We just didn't have the best relationship. I lived in Gainesville. She lived in Largo. We usually called on holidays, maybe a birthday here and there, but after my dad died, something changed in her. She became cold. Demanding. Bitter. I was the only child, so I guess all her expectations landed on me. It all blew up one night when she called me out of nowhere. I thought it was just another check-in, but instead, she said she needed a favor. She wanted me to pay for a cruise. Not a normal one. A 12-day Caribbean cruise. She had it all planned already. First-class suite, the drink package, all the excursions, the spa treatments, everything. The total? $4,768. I asked her if she was serious. She said yes. I laughed. I actually laughed, because I thought she was joking. I had just finished paying off $7,000 in dental bills, and my car's transmission was starting to go. I was barely making rent at that point. She didn't care. She said I owed her. "Excuse me?" I asked. "You owe me," she said. "You owe me for raising you. For staying with your father. For everything I gave up for you. You wouldn't even exist without me." I told her I didn't have the money. She lost it. She said I was selfish. That I never appreciated her. That if she'd known how ungrateful I'd turn out, she never would have kept me. That one hurt. Then she said the thing I'll never forget. "You ruined my life the day you were born." I just sat there in silence. She hung up. A few minutes later, the texts started coming in. Long ones. Angry ones. One after another. "You should be ashamed. You've never given me anything back. Don't call me again until you understand what being a daughter means." So I didn't. I didn't call. I didn't text. I let it sit. 5 months passed. I tried to pretend like I didn't care, but I did. I felt guilty. I started thinking. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe she was right. Then one night, my roommate's cousin came to stay over. We had wine, talked about family, and she made a comment that stuck with me. "You sound just like your mom." That hit harder than I expected. The next morning I called my mom. No answer. I tried again the next day. Still nothing. After a week of silence, I started wondering if something happened to her. Or maybe she was really done with me. Either way, I needed to know. So I packed a small bag, got in my car, and made the drive down to Largo. When I pulled up to the house, it looked the same. Same faded blue paint. Same half-dead garden. Same plastic flamingo by the mailbox. I walked up to the front porch and knocked. I heard movement inside. She came to the door but didn't open it. She just stood behind the screen, arms crossed. Her face was different. Colder. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I just wanted to talk," I said. "You don't get to show up here after what you said." I thought we could make peace. I brought you something." I held up the bag. I had baked cookies, printed some old pictures, brought her a sweater she left at my place last winter. Dumb stuff, but it felt like something. She didn't move. "You're not my daughter anymore," she said through the screen. I blinked. "What?" "Daughters don't say no to their mothers." I was speechless. She added, "You made your choice. I made mine." Then I heard a man's voice from inside. "Hey babe, where's my charger? I think I left it in the pink room." The pink room. That was my room. I looked at her. "Who is that?" "Tenant," she said. "Pays rent. Doesn't talk back." My heart dropped. "You rented out my room?" She gave a little smirk. "It's not your room anymore." I didn't say anything else. I just turned around and walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat, staring at the steering wheel. I felt numb. Then something clicked in my head. The mailbox. When I was a kid, she always made me get the mail. Even when I came home from college. She hated walking out there in the heat. Without thinking, I got out and walked over. There were a few pieces inside. A cable bill. Some junk mail. And one letter that didn't belong. It was from the Social Security office. And it was addressed to someone I didn't know. Derek Stavinson, care of Marlene Haverford, 123, Sunset Drive, Largo, Florida 33770. That wasn't her boyfriend's name. and I'd never heard it before. I stared at the envelope. Then I took a photo of it. When I got home, I looked him up. Derek Stavinson. It didn't take long to find him. He had a record. Identity theft in Georgia. Bank fraud in Alabama. Arrested in Tampa in 2019 for opening credit cards under fake names. And now, he was living in my mom's house. Getting his government mail sent there. Using her address. Everything started to make sense. She wasn't just renting a room. She was hiding someone. Helping him. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up going through every article I could find on him. The more I found, the angrier I got. My mom threw me away like trash because I wouldn't give her cruise money, but she let a criminal sleep in my bed? She gave him what she never gave me. And she thought I'd go away quietly. She had no idea what was coming. I didn't know where to start. I had this photo of a letter from the SSA addressed to a known con man, living in my mom's house. I had screenshots of his criminal record. But what I didn't have was proof that she knew what he was doing. And if I wanted to do something about it, really do something, I needed to be smart. I wasn't just her daughter anymore. I was someone she had thrown away. She wouldn't talk to me. Wouldn't let me in. So I got quiet. I didn't confront her. Instead, I started watching. I took a sick day from work and drove back to Largo the next week. I parked 2 houses down, across the street, windows tinted, AC off. Just waited. It felt crazy, sitting there in a hot car watching my own mother's house like it was some kind of sting operation. But I had to know more. Around 2:30 p.m. he came out. Derek. Average height. Buzzed hair. Kind of a dead look in his eyes. He got in an old silver Honda Civic and drove off. I followed him. Not too close. Took side streets. Watched him stop at 3 places, a P.O. box facility, a check cashing place, and a UPS store. At each stop, he came out with a new envelope. That's when it hit me. He was still running scams. And my mom? She was helping. I kept following him for 2 days. I skipped work, made up excuses. I didn't care. He always came back to my mom's house around dinner. Always brought bags, food, sometimes packages. Once I saw him hand her a stack of envelopes, and she kissed him on the cheek. It made my skin crawl. Then one afternoon, I saw him meet a woman at a diner. She handed him a folder. Thick yellow. He looked inside, nodded, and handed her a thick wad of cash. I got out of the car and snapped pictures from the sidewalk. Later that night, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My dad's old friend, Mark. He used to be a detective with Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Mark picked up after the 3rd ring. Hello? It's Rachel, I said. He paused. You okay? Not really. I need your help. I told him everything. He was quiet for most of it. I could hear him scribbling notes. When I finished, he asked, You sure about the name? Positive. And you have proof? I have photos. Screenshots. Mail addressed to him at her house. He sighed. Okay. I'll run him through the system. You didn't open that government mail, did you? No. Just took a photo. Good. Stay out of it from here. Let me do my thing. But I couldn't. That weekend I drove back one more time. I waited until I saw Derek leave again. Then I walked up to the house and knocked. My mom opened the door, looked annoyed. You again? I need to talk to you. She rolled her eyes. I told you you're not welcome here. I'm not here about us. I'm here about him. She froze. Derek? I said. Or should I say Marcus Tillman? Or David Rowe? Depends which state he's in, right? Her eyes went cold. You don't know what you're talking about. I held up my phone. Actually, I do. I know he's got mail coming here. I know you're letting him use your address. And I know what he's doing with it. She slammed the door. I stood there for a minute, then walked away. But not before dropping something in the mailbox. A printed list of every alias I found. With dates. And charges. I wanted her to know I wasn't a little girl anymore. 3 days later, Mark called. We've got enough to open an investigation, he said. On him? On both of them. A week passed. I didn't hear anything from Mark. Not a call. Not a text. Nothing. I started wondering if I pushed too far. If maybe he got cold feet. Or worse. If my mom had already caught on and cleaned everything up. But then, one morning, I saw a voicemail from him. I hit play. Rachel, I need to see you. It's urgent. Meet me at the Denny's off East Bay Drive, noon tomorrow. Come alone. That was it. No hello, no goodbye. Just that. I barely slept that night. I showed up early, sat in a booth facing the front entrance. At exactly 12:03, Mark walked in. He looked tired. He slid into the seat across from me, eyes darting around like he didn't want anyone hearing what he was about to say. He pulled out a manila folder and dropped it in front of me. I opened it. Inside were photocopies of government forms, bank statements, a rental lease agreement with my mother's signature on it, and a page with my name. My name. What the hell is this? I asked. He pointed to a line near the bottom. There it was. Co-applicant, Rachel Haverford. She forged your name, Mark said quietly. Used your old social security number from a joint account. That's how she helped him qualify for that bogus tax refund check he cashed last month. My stomach dropped. She committed fraud in my name? He nodded. You're on the hook unless we move fast. I couldn't breathe. Why would she do that to me? He looked at me with something close to pity. Because she thinks she owns you. Still. I didn't go home after that. I drove back to Largo. I parked far enough away from her house to not be seen, but close enough to watch. Derek's car wasn't there. I waited. At 5:10 p.m., he pulled in, went inside. By 5:30, I called the tip line Mark gave me. I gave them everything. Every address, date, screenshot, name, and lie I had collected for the last 3 weeks. And then I did something I didn't plan on. I walked to the front door again. She opened it this time. What now? She snapped. You used my name, I said, shaking. You forged my name for fraud. You dragged me into this mess. Her face didn't change. You left me no choice, she said. You had every choice. I raised you. I gave you a roof, food, everything. And when I asked for one thing, one trip, you turned your back. You rented out my room to a criminal and stole my identity, I said. That's not parenting. That's betrayal. Then I turned and walked away. She didn't try to stop me. I thought that would be it. But things got worse. 3 days later, my bank account was frozen. I got a call from the fraud department. Someone tried to open a new line of credit in my name using the same address I grew up at. My mom's address. They caught it just in time. But it proved one thing: she wasn't done. She wasn't sorry. And she wasn't scared. She thought she could still get away with it. She had no idea the hammer was already coming down. It all came crashing down a week later. I was in the break room at work, heating up soup, when I got a call from Mark. They're doing the raid, he said. Right now. My heart stopped. What? They got the warrant. IRS, local PD, even a federal observer. They're hitting the house this morning. You might want to stay off social media for a while. It's going to be loud. He was right. An hour later, my phone blew up. A neighbor I barely remembered from childhood sent me a video. Police vans. A black SUV. Uniforms swarming the house. Someone yelling. My mom being walked out in handcuffs in her bathrobe, yelling at the officers, screaming that it was all a misunderstanding. The man, Derek, or whatever his real name was, tried to run out the back door. He didn't make it. They tackled him in the yard and dragged him to the front lawn in cuffs, dirt on his face, hand bleeding. My childhood home was surrounded with yellow tape. It didn't even look real. They were both charged with multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. The investigators found fake documents in the attic, including 2 passports and forged tax forms. There were envelopes full of prepaid debit cards and a list of stolen names, including mine, kept in a folder labeled Friends. The hardest part was reading the report and seeing how far my mom had gone. She had signed checks in my name. Set up a burner email pretending to be me. Applied for a loan I never knew about, using my credit from before the dental bills. The only reason I wasn't in legal trouble myself was because I had come forward before everything hit the fan. Because I documented everything. Because I had proof. Still, I had to file an affidavit with the IRS, freeze my credit, get a lawyer to help remove the fraudulent items from my record, and spend hours proving I wasn't part of it. It cost me weeks of stress and $1,800 in legal fees. I paid every cent myself. And my mom? She took a deal. 3 years probation, 6 months house arrest, community service, and a felony record. She avoided jail time, but only by throwing Derek under the bus. He wasn't so lucky. He got 5 years in federal prison. Turns out he had pending charges in 3 other states. Florida was just the latest. I didn't speak to her after that. She tried to reach out, through a letter. It was short. No apology. Just, you should have helped me. None of this would have happened if you loved me like a daughter should. I burned it. I didn't reply. A month later, I did one last thing. I sold the story. There's this local podcast that covers small-town scams and betrayals. I changed names, left out the address, but gave them the truth. They ran it under the title, The Pink Room. Thousands of people listened. Comments poured in, calling her manipulative, ungrateful, cruel. They called me strong, resilient. One person even said, "You're the kind of daughter who deserves the world." I cried when I read that. Not because I needed praise, but because I finally knew I wasn't crazy. Now I live in a different city. Clean slate. New job. New number. Sometimes I still check the court dockets, just to make sure nothing's reopened. So far, so good. I kept every photo, every document, every file. Not because I want revenge anymore. Because I need the reminder that not everyone who gives birth to you deserves to stay in your life. That love without boundaries is just abuse with guilt on top. And that sometimes, the only way to protect yourself is to burn the bridge and walk away.